So, welcome back to the channel, hope you're doing well, and today we are going to cover the very basics of Generation Zero, which is an open world cooperative first person shooter and survival game. Now, if you haven't seen Generation Zero before, I have been streaming it in the last couple of weeks, and I know that we have we switched a number of the community onto this game. It's one of those games that I think when you first see it, it can be a little bit intimidating, but once you get in and play it, it is actually a lot of fun. So today we are going to give you the very basics to get you started. Let's do it. So as I said in the intro, this will be just the basics of the game to get you started, probably the first 5 to 10 hours, so that you kind of get your head around how the game works and everything that you need to know to be reasonably effective. Now, the game is set in 1989 in a post-apocalyptic Sweden, of all places, that has become overrun by killer robots. How does that sound? Just peachy, I'm sure. So, as the player, you assume the role as a Swedish teenager. So he's returned to the island of, which is Sweden, I guess, and finds the local population has vanished. And so he's attempting to find out what happened. So that's basically the story in a nutshell. So, if you've played games, open world looter shooters before, like Fallout and some of the Ubisoft games, I think you'll be well at home here. You'll be comfortable with it. This game has a lot of things, doesn't have a lot of things that other games that you may have played in the past have, but I think that's the charm of it. It really is, you have to be very strategic in this game, and you got to take your time and work your way through the environment. So hopefully with the tips I'm about to give you, it'll give you an overview how the game works, and make you a little bit more effective and a lot more strategic, and give you an overall feeling of how the game is going to play. So without further ado, let's get into a little bit of explanation and see how we go. So you're going to start your journey of discovery over Järtvik, which is right down on the kind of eastern side, southeastern side of the map, very bottom, you can see here. And straight away, when you follow the story up to the main house here, make sure that you're checking everything along the way for loot, and loot. This is a looter game, and this will pop up. It'll show you what you've got to find. So there was 1 weapon and 3 collectibles that you have to find. So as soon as you enter the house here and start searching around, it will throw up this little symbol here, this little house symbol. Now, these are safe houses. These will be your friend. And these are basically save points, but also fast travel points. And you'll see there's a number of these across the map. These are incredibly important because not only does it save the game, there is no manual save on the game, first of all. So these are basically your save points. But also, if you do happen to expire or get killed by the bad guys, then it will ask you to choose a respawn point. And these safe houses will become your respawn points. So it's very important that you unlock these as you go. Now, I would encourage you, when you first start the game, there is a bridge here just close to Southam. But I would encourage you, in the first couple of hours of the game, is to explore this whole island here, all the way around. Go and have a look at all these different places and do a heap of looting. You need to get resources to survive, and I'll explain what those important resources are going to be as we go through in a minute. But straight away, start your journey and try and find these safe houses, because it's extremely important for your gameplay, and it will save you time. Then it will make your playing experience a heck of a lot more easier. Okay, so navigating your environment. The map will be your friend, and we're just going to remove this for a second. So the map will be your friend. To move from place to place, or to move from mission to mission, my suggestion is you use a waypoint. So we're going to use this church as an example. So say we're over here, and you'll see if I look around, I really don't have an idea of where that church is, really. I mean, if you look at the map, your character has, we'll try and zoom in so you can see it a little bit more. Your character does have an arrow indicating which direction they're pointing, but when you look like this, you really don't know where that church might be. So the easiest way to navigate through this is to set a waypoint, and to do that is just find an area close to where you want to go. Click, for me it's A on Xbox controller, it's X on the PlayStation controller, I'm not sure what it would be on PC, and place a waypoint, and straight away you can see what direction you need to head, and that will save you a lot of anguish. It will get you from point A to point B in record time, and you'll always know which direction you need to head. It is a very, very valuable tool. So what are the most important things that you should be carrying, looking for? I would suggest you loot absolutely everything you can get your hands on, and store them. You have quite a generous weight there, and you can see right down at the bottom of the inventory there is a weight saying I'm carrying 26 whatever it is, pounds, kilos, whatever it is, of 64. So at the start of the game, you pick up everything. You can always store them. Once you get to a safe house, you can always store them in the storage box, and the storage box has a capacity of 200 whatever it is, kilos, pounds, whatever. Okay, so so that's the first thing. But what I'd suggest you should be carrying straight out of the gate is, number one, first aid kits. Make sure you got plenty of first aid kits. Unfortunately, I haven't got any standard first aid kits at the moment, but at least have your simple first aid kits. If you are able to get adrenaline shots, make sure that you've got adrenaline shots. Have your binoculars, and then any guns that you have or weapons that you have, make sure that you're carrying the ammo for those guns. And that's really the basics of what you should be carrying straight up. Everything else is a bonus. And I will be going through I will do another video on all of these collectibles and what they might do and what they might give you an advantage. But this is a basics video, so I don't want to get too bogged down in telling you about those at this point. Okay, so once you have those resources on board, assign them to a slot. What do I mean by that? So if I push up on my D-pad, suddenly a new menu will appear, and this is a quick selection menu, and it's incredibly important that you assign your key resources to these slots, because it will get you out of trouble, especially the health, the simple health. You can bring it up quickly, and then I'll press Y, I think that'd be triangle on PlayStation, to get back to my weapon, and I can switch between these very quickly like that. So how do you assign a slot? So go to your inventory, find whatever you want to add to a slot. So we're going to use a firework for now, and this will replace the emergency flares. So what you have to do, you can see down the bottom it says drop item or assign slot. So it's A on Xbox, X on PlayStation. So we're going to click on that, and it's going to bring up this menu here, and then you can add these to a particular slot. So we're going to replace the emergency flare, so I'm going to click on that, put it in that thing, and now if I press down on my D-pad, you can see that it's assigned to a slot. If I decide that that's not what I want to do, then to change it, you just do the same thing, find whatever item you want to replace that to, find the slot you want and then replace it, and there you go. So that's a very important thing. That'll get you out of trouble, especially with the health packs. And also, I like to have my binoculars at hand so I can just watch the TV if that's what I choose to do. Now, just while we're on assigning slots, the weapons slots are different to that. They act in a slightly different way. So you can assign the weapons to a slot. So go to your inventory, scroll across to primary weapons first. And all we have to do is just click on them and you can assign them to whatever slot you want to. So for your primary weapons, you have 2 slots. For your pistol, you have 1. And it just works the same. Just assign them to a slot and you're ready to go. Now, the next thing I need to cover is, now that you've assigned them to a slot, so that you've made your weapons active, you can add attachments to them. And to do this, you'll see, just hover over the weapon you want an add attachment to, and you'll see down the bottom there, a new menu appears and it says attachments. Click on that, and then you can, if you have picked up attachments, you can assign them right there. So we'll show you, for instance, with the Messer hunting rifle, we obviously have a scope there. We found a better scope, so we can change that out, or we can take it completely off. So you can actually clear the slot completely, so that has no sight on it. And then I'm going to put that there, like that. And suddenly I've got a new scope on it. So as far as your weapons go, please be aware that your weapons have a few tricks to them. So I've got the AI-76, which effectively is the AK. Note down in the kind of right hand corner, there's a few things that you can do with this. So if I hit, for me on Xbox RB, I can change the fire mode of this gun, and for this gun it has an automatic mode, a semi-automatic, or a burst mode. Now, if you've watched my channel for a while, I am a big component of using semi-automatic rifles because they center much quicker, they'll be much more accurate, it helps you manage your recoil a lot more. So try these different modes out, find the one that works for you, and use it religiously. But be aware that when you log back into the game, it will always be on that first mode, that automatic mode. So depending on what weapon you've got, different weapons. So for instance, this shotgun here does not offer any other mode, it only has one mode. So this is very gun dependent. See, the Magnus doesn't have, it only has a semi-automatic mode, so it's very gun dependent on whether this mode is active or not, but be aware it's there. The second thing that I want to make you aware of, you'll see that underneath right at the bottom there, it says RB plus RB switch ammo. So if you double tap whatever the indicator is for your system, it will change the type of ammo that you're using. So that has just changed from 7.62 AP from a 7.62 full metal jacket. So you can change between the different ammo types, and it's one that you might miss, that you actually do have different ammo types in your gun, and you might run out of ammunition, think it's completely dry, and that's one of the ways that you can stay alive longer, is to actually just change the ammo type. Obviously the FMJ is going to do more damage than the standard ammo, but again, just be aware that is there on your weapon. Now, the weapons in this game are gear based, so you'll start with grey weapons, but you're going to see that you're going to be able to go through from grey to green to blue to purple, and I think there is actually a gold gear weapon. So what that does effectively is, as you go through the different gear levels, your damage and your handling and all that kind of stuff will improve. So all the stats on those guns will start to improve. And you can see with this semi-automatic shotgun, that's almost max damage at purple level. So again, we just went through how to get the attachments, but again, the attachments will also the attachments that you're going to put on this gun will also you'll also find different gear strengths of those, and you can see on for instance on the assault rifle I've got all blue except for the extended mags, which is a kind of grey colour. So is the barrel extension. So you can always be upgrading your weapons. You'll find all those attachments in the environment, so there's always improvements on the base weapon that you can be finding. At some point in the near future, actually pretty quickly in the game, you are going to come across the robots, the enemies, and yeah, there are several strategies that you're going to have to employ to stay alive in the game. Fight them if you need to, but you can also just adopt a stealth approach, and crouch walking and combat crawling are actually going to be your friend in this game, because here's the thing, you don't have to engage with the enemies. You can creep right by them if you're stealthy enough. And in a lot of examples, this is probably the right thing to do, is just to sneak by, because you're going to come up against enemies that you're going to know that you have no hope of killing. Maybe because they're too strong, the environment you're in, there's too many of them, whatever it might be. So this is where you have to be a little bit strategic. So I'm going to show you a few tips here to be a little bit stealthy, and I'll show you a few tips on how to tackle some of these enemies. So here we are in game, and we're doing a little bit of looting, and you can hear the enemies around me. They're wandering around and around me. Ooh, nice. We'll take all that. So one of the things that you can do is just combat crawl, and look at this, watch this. They're right there. They're not detecting me. They're completely ignoring me, and you can get quite close. I've had them walk right past me using this method. Look at that. They're just completely ignoring me. As soon as you stand up, they'll detect you. Look how close I can get to this big guy. So combat walking, not always the thing to do, but crouch walking, combat walking, make sure you're using that to your advantage in certain situations. So all the enemies that you are going to come across are going to have weak points, and so learn their weak points. And I will do a separate video on that and how to combat them, but they will have weak points and aim for them. Pretty much one of the things that you should be doing with as you get through the game and you get harder and harder enemies is, if they have a weapon, target their weapon or the hand they're using their weapon in first and try and knock out the weapon. Once you do that, it's going to be a heck of a lot easier to kill them with these kind of runners. For instance, they have a canister on top of them that you can shoot, and that will explode them. And take the gunfights at your range and the way you want to take it. Don't let them dictate how these fights are going to go. So if you have to hide in a building early, then do that. If you have to use a longer range weapon, do that. Whatever works for you to make sure that you're not dying and that you can kill these enemies fairly effectively. The last thing about enemies, and something that might not be totally obvious, is that you can use your environment to take care of them. And yeah, things like cars, and there are these electrical boxes on the side of buildings that actually have an EMP effect on enemies. So use your environment. Again, this comes back to being strategic. It will help you eliminate the enemies and do it fairly quickly. So there you go. That is some basic tips to get you started in Generation Zero. If you'd like to see me do more detailed videos on some of the points that I've raised or anything else, please let me know in the comments section down below. I can do a whole series of tips with this game if you would like. I've got a few ideas that I can share with you. If it's been useful, let me know with dropping a like or a comment, and we will catch you next time on Gaming for XP. See ya.